You're a very, very busy executive. You have absolutely no bandwidth, but you absolutely must create as much video content as possible. How can that be possible? Well, the good news is there are some ideas about how you can do that with very little bandwidth, minimal effort, and big results. All right, Lee, I had this great conversation with someone the other day, an executive who's really trying to figure out how to grow his brand. And he's having a challenge. He just feels like well, two things. One is he doesn't have the time. He just doesn't have the bandwidth. He's chock full. But also, I think he would literally rather hurl himself into a volcano than start the process of how do I turn that content engine and get it going. It just was so unpalatable for him. He was frozen. And so what we did is I talked about with him some sort of basic ideas about how anyone, no matter how busy you are, still has a way to create content that is useful and meaningful. And again, this goes with the whole adage of some content is better than no content, even if it isn't the greatest content in the world. The fact that you're putting out content and sharing the things that you know and think about is going to be better than having nothing at all. But the chances are, if you start doing it and you keep doing it, that content is going to get better and better and more impactful.
Well, check this out. The same executive that says they don't have time to create content is the same executive who's complaining about having too many meetings.
Yeah.
When the effort can be exactly the same. Show up, have a conversation. The only difference is one of those meetings is being recorded. Boom, you got content.
Okay. I think we're done here. That's it, pretty much. But I think you've hit on the main point. We'll have a few specific ideas to talk about, the kinds of things I talked about with him that I think are very good for almost anybody. At least one of them is going to hit home for anyone watching this. But it comes to the idea that you're already doing things like you said. And the question is, are you doing it while you capture content, or are you just doing the thing? And it can be that you're having a conversation and you record and memorialize it and then use it as content. Or maybe you're doing something anyway and you're not producing content, but you have the ability to create content. Let me give you some examples. So the first one that I talked about with him was he is already someone who's having sales calls. And I'll be honest, I got this idea from you. This guy has sales calls. Sometimes those sales calls or those introductions or, cute meets, if you will, networking and so forth. He's going to have them anyway. Some will be successful, some won't. The ones that are not successful, maybe that was a good use of time. Maybe it wasn't. It's just part of the game. But every single one of them, you're saying stuff. And every once in a while, you're going to catch yourself saying something the best way you ever did before. And you sit there and you go, man, I nailed it. I really nailed it. I said that the best way ever. What did I say again? And it's lost forever. But if every time you get on a sales call, a phone conversation, you have a camera, even your cell phone, and you just record just your end of the conversation, you don't ever have to use that recording. You can throw it away and say, that was garbage. But what if you say something amazing? You've captured it. That is content.
Yeah, oftentimes it comes down to we're doing the exact same things, but how we frame it is what keeps us from doing it or not doing it. For example, if you say, let's have a conversation, that's one thing. If you say, let's have a podcast, that's something else. If you say, let's record our sales call, something else. If you say, let's create content, all of a sudden the nerves go up because you think we need a content plan. We need a script. What are we going to say? How are we going to look? How are we going to do it? The reality is the first three things I mentioned are creating content. And so I know when we talk to clients, we try to avoid using the word script because that raises anxiety.
Sure.
Right? Well, at the same time, the best content comes from unscripted conversations. What we're doing right now, we realized we always had these conversations.
How many times have we said, we're not recording?
We should have captured that, right? It could be after, maybe we're doing like a post after we finished talking to a client, or we're just troubleshooting something and we go, oh, we should have recorded that. That'd have been great content. Or we could be just discussing a sales call we just had. That was great content. And we realized we have to drink our own champagne and record this stuff. And this isn't scripted. And as soon as you tell an executive that we're going to create content as opposed to document something, there goes, here's an excuse to throw it off to the content team and say, okay, we're on board. Go write me a script. Weeks go by, days go by, legal gets involved. It gets way more complicated, more than just, okay, I'm down for it. I'll show up and the camera will go on and we'll record something. No pressure. Like you said, we may or may not use it, but we'll capture really good, real human content without the stress of scripting and making a big production of it.
Absolutely, and I'll go one step more than that. We're talking about saying, "Hey, I need to create content. When's the moment I can do it? Hey, I'm having these conversations anyway. Let's record them, and maybe something amazing will come out of that. It's a great use of that time." Let me take it from the other direction. What if I told an executive, whether or not you make a sale, I'm gonna make sure that every sales call you have was productive. It added to your sales process and the marketing cycle. No matter what, something will come out of that every single time. Eh, that makes making that call feel like it wasn't a waste of time. Every moment of your day is productive. And so if you can turn that into a really simplistic system, like we were just kind of hinting at. All right, every time I have a Zoom call, let's say, or even on a phone, that's fine. I have a camera or a spare cell phone or my cell phone set up on a little stand aiming at me. And I get in the habit that I push record before I make that call and I push stop when I finish that call. And then if I have any type of team, content team, marketing team, the job is at the end of the day, they're supposed to take that camera, that phone, download or upload all the content from that, and then it goes through whatever your process of reviewing that, transcribing it, figuring out what happens to it. And now you can pull video clips from that. One, you can transcribe and analyze the content using AI or whatever and say, what can we learn from all of these sales calls, the ones that worked and the ones that didn't? We can take those and output articles from the transcriptions. We can create social media clips, LinkedIn posts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you made a sale, even better, even better.
Well,
But
I was thinking as you said that, I want to make a call right now. I want to talk directly to you, sales guy, saleswoman. Have you ever ended a sales call and thought to yourself, wow, I nailed that one? I mean, that was the greatest pitch I ever gave. That was great. Now, you did that once or twice, whatever. What if you had recorded that? Now, that great sales pitch, that great conversation, that great discovery call is now captured. It is content that can do that same thing over and over while you're sleeping because you captured it. Your marketing team made it, look pretty and distributed it, but you didn't prepare to create content. You prepare for the thing you do great, which is sell.
that's it. Now, I'm so glad you used the words while you're sleeping, because that kind of comes to the next opportunity. Every single person, every executive, no matter how thin the bandwidth, their perceived bandwidth is, they are exercising, they're washing the dishes, they're waiting in the airport, they're driving to the airport, they're in a cab, they're in their hotel room late at night. Something is happening in their day that's a moment that they are not on an urgent call. They're in the shower. Maybe you don't do it in the shower, but the point is there are always down moments, but our minds are still going. So we may have a reflection. You could be driving to the airport for, let's say you're in customer experience or retail or some sort of discipline or industry like that. And as you go into the airport, because you got to take a flight and you're in a rush and you have a positive or negative consumer experience, that's an opportunity to hop on your phone. You need no more sophisticated device than that, and record a video of yourself saying, I just arrived at, O'Hare Airport, and I have to tell you that was the most seamless, amazing experience I've ever had. Here's what they're doing right. bang, bang, bang. More people should be doing something like that. So the lesson is think about who you want to return to your venue and make sure that they fall in love with that experience. Bing. That is golden because not only did you say the message, you had a personal experience and emotion and in the moment kind of extemporaneous reaction to it. That is golden content. And guess what that didn't do? It didn't eat into your bandwidth at all because right now I was waiting in line in TSA or I was sitting at the gate waiting for my flight. I made use of that time and made it productive. And I just created the most incredible content to hand off to my content or my marketing team. So when you're driving, when you're going to the airport, when you're jogging, when you're washing dishes or whatever, think about what's happening in your day, what's on your mind, what you learned that day, what you intend to do the next day, something you observed in the news, anything, and just record content. Here's the key. I think this may be one of the most important points I could make here. Not every one of these is going to be a winner. Not every one of these is going to be the golden content child that you'll look back on over the years and say, remember when I did that piece of content? Man, that was a winner. Many of them, you don't have to use all of them. If I do this 3 times a day, 7 days a week, I have 21 pieces of content. I'm probably not going to use all of them. That means that if I only need 4 or 5 for the week, I got 15 of them I can throw away or bank for another day when we ran out of content. But the point is, if I get in the rhythm, I get in the habit. This is what I told the guy the other day. I said, look, here's what I want you to do. Put a Post-it note on your front door. Put a Post-it note on in your car. Put one on your computer screen. And put a note in your schedule every day and put one next on your nightstand. So there's no way you can avoid the instruction to yourself to capture even garbage content today. Just know you captured content. And you will get in the habit of needing to express yourself and to fill that hole, and it will become more and more meaningful and more effective as you go. But as we said when we started out, the key is you have to do it.
If you're a marketer struggling to create content that's truly unique to your brand, here's the key. Your experts and executives are your most valuable content assets. Conversational content like videos and podcasts featuring your team stand out above all other content. So, instead of creating content that sounds just like your competition, start leveraging the unique voices inside your company. Thought leaders and authentic conversations build credibility and engagement. At Content Monsta, we specialize in remote content production, meaning we coach your people to be comfortable on camera, then we capture and produce high-quality videos and podcasts featuring your team and customers. No need for expensive production crews, long production plans, or complex setups. Want to see how it works? Visit contentmonsta.com today to learn more. Let me ask you this. You mentioned earlier there was a list you had of some things we were talking about, getting executives on video and some of the reasons why they do or don't do it. Do you
Yep.
have that list handy? What were those things that you had listed out?
Usually it's just a perception. You don't have the time. You don't have the idea. You don't have the courage to do it. You don't think you don't want to do anything if it's not perfect. How you appear, what the noise is in the background, none of this matters because at worst, the transcription of what you said can be used in an article or a post. Maybe it's not going to be video content, but content is content. The message is the message. You have to find a way to easily record it. And what easier way do you have, unless you have a film crew following you around all day, okay, is almost everybody has a phone. And almost everybody has a phone that records video or audio, and that's all you have to do. You just have to have the presence of mind. But there are some ideas of things that you can do either in regular day, like I talked about, or because maybe you're already recording content, but you don't have the bandwidth to record enough content to fill your content channels. So,
Well, I wanted to mention, so I just wrote an article that's already been published on the Content Monster site, and I've coined a new phrase, and that phrase is transmutative AI.
transmutative AI.
Right. And what that means is it's a level above repurposing. It's a level above generative AI. And what it means is, and this came to me while I was on stage. I was on stage at Content Marketing
Mm.
World, and I was talking about content, AI, and automation. And in the middle of that talk, it occurred to me that some people are probably thinking that we're talking about repurposing, or we're talking about generating massive amounts of generative AI slop at
No.
scale. It is not about that.
Nope.
The reason why I came up with the phrase transmutative AI is because what I was talking about, and what I often talk about, is taking human created content, like that salesperson who has a sales call, like that podcast conversation, human creative content, and within those guardrails of creating content only on what we actually discussed, transmute that into new forms of content, but don't generate new stuff, which is based on, things that are already out there, are written by someone else. We're not crowdsourcing existing content. That's what generative AI typically does. It looks at what already exists and creates something new, but it's based on the world of content available. Transmutative AI takes content that you created. This conversation we're having right now, we're saying new things, we're giving our opinion, we're creating new connections of information that come from us, not from the world. Then, just like the salesperson's call, like any other transcript, you can transmute that into new content that is solely based on what we actually said. And a couple of examples I gave in that talk were, for example, what we do with our clips from our podcast. So let's say we use something like Opus to clip out 2-minute clips from a 1 hour conversation. When we create the text that goes with that clip, it isn't just creating text out of the ether. It isn't using generative AI only. It is saying, based on what Lee or Mark said, take that and transmute that exact same idea into a LinkedIn post format. Don't put anything new in there.
Yep.
Don't create any more content. Just within the context of Lee or Mark's idea, write text in a format. That's transmutative AI, not just generative.
I absolutely just did that exact thing. It had, I don't know, a dozen or so short videos about hosting, podcast hosts, tips for podcast hosts to be more effective. I took the script for all of those and I ran it through AI, and I prompted to give me of different variations, one for podcasting, one for recording content, creating content and video content in general, and then give me a variety of LinkedIn posts
Uh-huh.
with XYZ parameters based on the script of that particular video. So think about it. I've got, say, 12 scripts. Each one's going to generate like 4 different versions of that script, or a post based on the content of that script. And then I used AI to create an AI produced image to go with it. And I now have, without doing any really substantial amount of additional work, a month and a half of daily posts
Mm-hmm.
done from actual recorded material I did before.
Right. And it's your voice, it's your thoughts, it's you. It's not crowdsourced.
That's right. That's right.
Marketers and sales leaders, if you want to close more deals and drive real revenue growth, you need cash. And I don't mean money. I'm talking about my new book, Cash, the 4 keys to better sales, smarter marketing, and a supercharged revenue machine. It gives you a proven framework to improve the 4 areas that impact revenue the most: communication, alignment, systems, and honesty. You need a stronger sales and marketing engine, and this book will show you how to build it. Get your copy now at aleejudge.com/cash. Now, back to the content. I was going to give another example of an article that provided immediate ROI. So this article started with an actual customer conversation. And in that conversation, of course, it was a sales discovery call. So we did voice, our view of how our services can help this customer. But in that conversation, you also had the customer explaining their scenarios, their situation, their pains. So this is not just a fake persona. This is our actual ideal customer person. I won't say persona, it's a person. They were on the call. They bounced our solutions off of their pains. So in that transcript was a list of an actual customer, a real person saying what they needed to have solved, and their response to how we could solve it. Then we took that transcript of a real person, not a fake persona, a real person, and said, AI, look at this from a third party perspective. Write an article that explains how our customer would see this situation and how Content Monster solves it. But be neutral. Look at this from a, don't try to sell it. Just look at it from, this is a problem that you as a marketer probably have, and this is how Content Monster can solve that. It wrote this article in a way that touched our ideal customer so well. We sent a newsletter out with this AI generated, that was transmutative AI. We transmuted a real conversation, not generative, transmutative, made a newsletter, sent it out, and within hours, we had people going, that's me. Can we work with you? I mean, it wasn't made up. It was someone says, you know what? You really hear me. You understand my pains. We want to work with you because we feel you. And that couldn't have been done as well if we just used a generic generative AI type of content.
So I think the lesson here is, so again, a sales call that could have resulted in a sale or not resulted in a sale, but you're still investing the time. And by the way, that may not have been because you decided to invest the time, because some stranger reached out and said, I'm interested, and you're going to take the call. Their initiative committed 15 minutes, a half an hour of your time, however long your sales call takes, suddenly in your schedule. You don't know if that's going to be worthwhile or not, but you got to take the shot because that's how you make sales, right?
Yeah, capturing that sales call has generated more opportunities.
Not just more, yeah, the opportunities have been to create content that didn't exist and would not have existed before. It can be video content, it can be audio content, it can be written content, it can be posts, but it can also be analytical content or analyzable content. And then, of course, it can become transmutative AI. Can we just say TAI?
I know, because I knew when I thought about it,
I
when I
know,
coined
right?
it, it's not
So,
going to be easy to say. But
so
go
the
ahead.
point is it's the opportunities are almost endless, and what can result from those opportunities are almost sort of unimaginable or unpredictable because you don't even know the roads that can lead to. But it starts with one thing, and that is making a decision to press record and to be conscious enough to make that a part of your habit or your rhythm and integrate it into your process. So, in addition to what you were just talking about, the transmutative AI and the analysis of your sales process, the things that come out of it, just to go down a quick list, and we've already talked about getting into the habit and the rhythm, making that happen, manually forcing yourself to start that process. That's maybe the hardest part. The second thing is that we talked about is to record content while you're already doing other activities, whether it's a sales call, a meeting, you're talking to your team, just record. Even you don't have to ever share what they're saying anywhere. You're just sharing what you say. But maybe they'll give you permission to record them and share because that can be content too. Um, Record during other activities when you have quote downtime, you're driving, you're waiting, you're exercising, whatever it is. These are all opportunities to create content, because how many times have you had the greatest thought when you're sitting there, when you're laying in bed or in the shower or exercising, and you go, man, when I get back to the office, I got to write that down. No, no, no. Do it right then. And it doesn't have to be video you share, but it means you got it in the moment. There's nothing wrong if someone else is involved with the conversation of asking them if it's okay to record them, especially if there's someone that already is out there as a thought leader or they share content and say, hey, Dave, you may have seen I often share content out there. I think we're going to have a great conversation. Would it be okay if I recorded this, your end as well? And if you say something genius and brilliant, maybe I could share it out there. Well, that person might be really appreciative that you're a content generator for them as well, with no lift on their part. And, you can get them to sign off and okay that it's okay to share that moment that you recorded, but think about the opportunity to have someone else saying ideas that are useful to you too. Again, you're already having the conversation. This isn't like carving out time for a podcast or a web series or anything else. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you don't have the capacity for that, or even the budget for that, here's a way to make that content still happen. But let's say, and here's the final thing, let's say you already do have some content channel, like a podcast. You say, boy, I don't know if I can handle more than one or two conversations on a podcast a month. I just don't have the bandwidth to do that. But I want to touch my audience more often than that. There are creative things that you can do I'll give you an example. Let's say I have two interviews a month, but I want weekly content. After I finish my interview, I can record for a few more minutes after I say goodbye to the guest and comment and reflect on that conversation by myself as a monologue. So week 1 is my interview with Dave. Week 2 is my reflection on Dave and what that means to me. Week 3 is my interview with Sarah. Week 4 is my reflection on Sarah, or vice versa. I know I have an interview coming up with Sarah, so I can talk about the concept and lay the groundwork that essentially that interview is going to be the answer to, that helps tease and excite your audience. But in and of itself, it is its own piece of thought leadership capture on content. Did that really take more bandwidth out of your day? You just spent a half an hour interviewing someone and you spent 5 more minutes recording something else while you're already in front of that microphone. You simply had the presence of mind and the thoughtfulness to do it, and the pattern, the habit, the rhythm. All of these things come down to one thing in my mind, and that is the decision to generate content in the moments when you have something to say.